process. I feel like I'm a little away from you, but we will be also recording this tonight, so we'll be handing this off. We want to make sure we share this with everybody else. Make sure that during the presentation you also jump in with some cookies. Tonight we'll talk about several areas. How we got here, the feedback that we got from our community, the surveying that we did, the forums that we had already done for input on projects, the specifics, the financials. Everyone wants to know what each piece costs, and that was part of our application, and we'll go through that. The proposed projects, and then our next steps. As we go through this, what really drives this in every good school district is the strategic framework. It was what we did for the year before this year. And we had 5 committees with teachers on it, parents, community members, everywhere from facilities to finances to projects and what's next. This strategic framework drives our work. So this isn't us just making stuff up or, well, hey, what do you think we need here? That strategic framework process was important for us as we went into this process. Visioning, what do we want each building to look like? What are the upgrades? What are the proposals that we want to do? Luther C. Klager was built in 1968. Riverside Intermediate was built in 1954. The new high school here ain't new no more. It opened in 2004. So it's getting a little older. It's beautiful. The people here have taken care of it. Our building and ground staffs, our maintenance folks, they've done a great job. But there's some additions here that we would like to make sure that we're competing with all those other surrounding school districts. So what's the vision for each of our buildings and what needs to be upgraded? A comprehensive facility assessment throughout the year last year. Had our GMB construction or our architecture team, Moore Trosper Construction Group, sit with each and every one of our department chairs, from Lisa Garrison in food service to Deb Heskett in transportation, Brian Hudiker, buildings and grounds. Very specific meetings with each of our folks. What is the need? What's the life of our buildings? What's the life of our stuff? Met with each teaching staff. Where do we need to evolve? What do you need as a teacher to work with kids? So I think that was part of that facility assessment that we did. The feedback, that's the community survey. We'll go through that a little bit, as well as some of the forum input. Then we had to prioritize. GMB, the architects, shared with us, and whatever happens during this process, it was a good activity. We went through for the next 10 years and assessed everything from roofs to carpet to ceilings to paint to each of the buildings. And they gave us an assessment on what needs to be replaced right away in the next 1 to 3 years, what needs to be replaced in that next 4 to 6, and 7 to 10. At least now we have a game plan moving forward on prioritizing and what has to happen for that. We can't just ask for that money. We have to go before the Michigan Department of Treasury and that qualifying application that we did in May. They went through us. We had to do an enrollment study, share that with our folks, share that with the Department of Treasury, share the very specifics of the bond, and it had to be approved. Brought that back to our board, and they called for the election in July, moving toward Tuesday, November 7th. Besides the strategic framework, what else drives good school districts are our mission. We are, and I believe this and I see it every day, a caring community developing future-ready students. Simple, easy, straightforward. That's who we are. That's who we want to be. Where we want to really take a good, long, hard look at is future-ready students. Are we providing the same opportunities, the same facilities, the same things that surrounding districts have, competing districts? We're in a big competition now for students. We want to make sure we retain and maintain the students that are here and draw the students that would like to come and be a part of these projects. Manchester Community Schools is committed to developing strong, well-rounded students driven to engage in a successful and rewarding future. I'm also the principal at Riverside Intermediate School. I see those kids every single day. I'm invested in them. They are the future. They will get to benefit from all these projects that we're talking about. That's what this is about, at least for us. So kind of framing our discussion today. That facilities assessment, like I talked about, and I'll go through that a little bit more later and bring that up. That's that discussions that we had with principals, staff, building and grounds, all of our departments, evaluated their feedback. The facility-wide assessment called for more money than we asked for. We know we can't do everything that needs to be done. That wouldn't be fair, it wouldn't be right to ask. There's other years to take care of some of this stuff. But we prioritize out of that list what can be done and what can we build to get people to come. So that programming, it's not just about fixing buildings. It's also about creating that learning environment where our core technologies right now in each of our classrooms are an Epson projector, an overhead document camera, and some laptops. Ben Bursma, technology director, is going to go further into what we want the new core technologies to look like for our students so that they can compete in what's next for them. You got the mailer. Thank you for coming. What we focused on is this. This is a very foundational ask for us. It's warm, safe, and dry, and it ain't just a tagline. It's what we're doing, this guy's doing on a daily basis every day, keeping leaky roofs together, looking at all of our rooftop heating and cooling units, updating access controls that are sometimes 20, 30 years old. That's the warm, rough, safe, some safety enhancements that we want to do. Our predecessors did a beautiful job in secure vestibules and safety film and video cameras and some of those security cameras. Where we want to take it next is interconnectedness, communication systems between the buildings, and more direct to law enforcement, to fire, to emergency response. There's systems that are updated that other schools that are connected to those things that we're not. That's safe. And then dry, obviously, the roofs, that heating and cooling pieces. So a very foundational piece there. We don't want to just fix buildings. We also want to fix how we teach and learn. And that's the educational program that we're looking at. We've all read about our fantastic robotics program here in this district. And it's been a draw for some kids. We've heard about Joe Walsh's entrepreneurial STEAM class and Fizz and Beans and all these groups that are going down to farm markets and going all over the place. That's how the programming and the opportunities that we want to create K through 12. We're now doing it. We've dedicated a class, makerspace, at Klager for STEM opportunities. These are nice media centers. We want to make all 3 media centers upgraded, more collaborative, more next generation. We want to look at this Manchester Junior Senior High School STEAM wing. Take Mark West's old drafting class, welding stuff, some of the hands-on stuff they were doing there, and art, and create a whole wing for STEAM, and better yet, even bring some Southwest and Washtenaw Consortium classes here to Manchester, welding and other opportunities, so that we don't have to go to Saline and Ypsilanti and travel all day. We want to bring those things here, and that's a key piece to our STEAM wing here. Here's another foundational piece. If you talk to any teacher at Klager and the status of their classrooms, very old carpeting, paint, furnishings, light fixtures, cabinetry. We want to touch every classroom at Klager and Riverside, update them. These classrooms here at the high school are nice, and they are collaborative, they're ready to go. We need to update Klager and Riverside in lots of ways, and our teachers have spoke. That's why the first projects, if this is passed and supported, happen at Klager, because that's first. Those kids need an update. They need it quickly. Finally, some athletic improvements and some construction pieces. There was a cry for a while here now about we need to keep our young athletes here, youth athletics here, but we don't have enough space or areas to host that volleyball tournament on the weekend, host that basketball tournament, have that space for the robotics competition. We always have to go to other places for those things. We want to build an auxiliary community gymnasium that our senior citizens can use during the day. We don't need it for instruction. We've got enough room for the number of students that we have. But we've visited so many districts that have that community space for pickleball, for yoga, for senior walking, for use for our community during the day, and that what we're calling club space or multi-use space connected to it for the robotics kids, for the club spaces. A lot of our kids in our youth sports have to wait all night to get in on that gym or the Riverside gym to have practices. People are carting kids back and forth. If we can create another space to improve youth athletics, that's what keeps people here. Our music program, our theater program, our sports program, that's what keeps people here. That's what draws people. That's what we're proposing in those big pieces. I went through some of the Klager pieces, the carpeting, the paint, just that classroom update and foundation is critical. Here's what they look like right now. I'm not trying to be dramatic, it's just how it looks. And it's okay, but that's the carpet. I think replaced, somebody said in 2004, I hope it's not that long ago, but furnishings from this year and that year and 100 years in this group and this classroom. That's Klager, how they're learning currently. And our teachers do a great job with it every day. We want to bring in a lot of our folks so that you can hear from others. So if you wouldn't mind a little round of applause for our special education supervisor, Rachel Tierney. She's going to give us a little update. You just have to speak into that because we're recording.
Okay. I can just jump back to the Klager. I work in every building in the district, and Klager, when you think about carpet, it might not seem important to you, but when we're thinking about vulnerable populations, uneven carpeting, we don't have smooth transitions, we need paving updates, sidewalk improvements. That's important for anybody with a physical impairment or mobility issue, a visual impairment. So those things are really important. The safety of our students really does need to rise up, especially in our older buildings. Also, at the Riverside and Klager playgrounds, we need safer playground equipment that's accessible to all students, not just for physical safety, but that's an important time for social inclusion. And if all kids can't play, they can't participate fully in their educational environment.
Hit a little on the, I think Wendy's going to hit on the high
CBI?
school, the kitchen and some of the renovations.
Do you want to do that one?
Oh, you can.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Okay.
Do this, but the special education.
Yeah, okay,
Hit
so
that.
here we have a community-based instruction classroom that's for our students who aren't able to participate fully in the Michigan Merit Curriculum. They are working towards a certificate of completion with a focus on independent living skills. And we really need to update that room. Right now it just has a couple of old kitchens. We need equipment, furnishings, not just like classroom furnishings, but living furnishings so they can practice those independent skills and job training skills. If we had like commercial dishwashing equipment, they would be able to practice those job skills while in school, and we really need to provide those opportunities for them to move on and experience more independence outside of school once they graduate.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Here's what we did. We closed the building and restructured the district, but we didn't restructure the classrooms and the playground equipment. Riverside kids are on the high school stuff, and this group is too big for that group, and we did the restructuring right, but we didn't do the re-outfitting right. This is us catching up from how many ever years that was ago. So that's part of it, to making sure that all of our special needs students feel welcome, included, and have access. That's the law. So we want to make sure we're in compliance. Some of the Klager vision, student-driven. and pedagogically aligned, flexible and multifunctional, foster ongoing inspiration and creativity, multimodal, inclusive, and accessible. I showed you what they currently are. Here's what we can build with the foundation money that we're proposing. Next generation and future focused. From Riverside, Julie Charney presented that for us last time. I'm going to present just briefly, but it's the classrooms. It's our media center. It's a very nice media center. It's a library like I had when I was in school. That's right here. But we want to open it up, make it a little bit more collaborative. Next generation, you can see they're piecing it all together in there. There's a wobble stool, a chair. I think our kids deserve better, and that's what we're trying to bring to Klager and Riverside. A little bit more uniform, a little more pride in the space, a little bit more versatile, be able to move things and work in small groups like we do at work now, instead of learning some of the other ways. Just another example of some of the proposed pieces. We're lucky to have our high school principal here tonight. Can we have a little round of applause for Wendy Bridges? She's going to give us
I don't know if it has to do with
just some
luck,
updates from the high school piece.
Welcome, thank you guys. One of the big things that Dr. Beasley talked about was the STEAM and the STEM, and we want to talk a lot about what's happening right now with changing some of the scheduling and introducing some kids to basic industrial ed that will take them into the community and get jobs. That I think we look at things and say, you know, we want to have education geared towards the individual student. You know, 100 years, millions of years ago when they built schools, they assumed every child was the same. And these four walls, the way they're built, are not for every child. And we want to provide opportunities that's geared towards the individual student. And part of that is with the industrial ed. And right now we got a course for 7th graders, a 9-week rotation for 7th and 8th graders. 7th graders get woods, basic woods, intro to woods, and the 8th graders get basic metals. We have so many kids just from the first 4 weeks loving those classes and want to take more. Can I take it the next 9 weeks? I said, well, I don't have enough room for you. And so part of the thing is our industrial ed wing, right now we have only 3 welding stations. This is huge. We're working right now with Washtenaw ISD to get some grants to try, but it's so difficult to be able to get the things that we want for our students to keep them, like Dr. Beasley said, here, to get them interested. Right now, our students, when they go to consortium, are behind because they don't get the intro. So a lot of kids will come back and say, oh my gosh, all the Celine kids, all the Chelsea kids, all the Clinton kids, they know way more than we do right now in auto mechanics, in metals, in basic woodworking, because our kids haven't had it up until then because there's just not a lot of space. And so now we're getting that intro there. We're getting them excited. We just don't have the room and the equipment and the facility that we need to get them caught up. And our goal is to have a really, really good metals program, a welding program. And that's kind of where we're focused right now. Yes, we have the woods, the building trades a little bit now to get them started. But we want to bring those people here instead of sending our kids and everybody going to Celine. It's like, why can't we have them here? I have kids who say, I'd like to go, but I don't want to leave the school. I don't want to be 3 hours away from school and away from my friends and that kind of thing. So if we can have them here, that would be great. And what we need the facilities to do that. We need the equipment to do that. We implemented this year auto and home repair class. So it's a semester-long auto and home repair class. And you don't believe even how many girls want to take this class. And I'm like, I'm pushing it. It's like, yeah, you can change your own ceiling fan. You know, you can change the oil in your car. We need to have our students be able to do these things and have the facilities to do them. And right now we do have a car. Actually, it's like an SUV in our building in there, but that takes up majority of the space. So we can't do other things when we're doing that. So our goal is to make sure that we're kind of gearing kids to not just only go to college, but to go to tech school, to be able to have those things here. And I'm excited to do that and create a schedule that will allow kids to do that in the facilities that they can do that. The other thing we talked about was the library. You know, it does look nice, but right now, you know, and our commons area, the goal would be to make that more of these more collaborative spaces and make it look more like, you know, college common areas where there are interactive areas. There's high top tables, there are your cafe type tables and seating and all electronic stuff that they can use and collaborate a little more. We do have kids who will stay after school. We're pretty good in this district of saying, you know, this building is the hub of the community. You know, we always say school, but it's really typically always the high school for the high school in most districts, right? And so this is where they end up leaving, and we have kids who stay after school, stay in those common areas, waiting for rides, doing homework. We have after-school study sessions in the library, and so to have a little more comfortable furniture and have it make it look a little more, you know, outside educational college type thing for them, and give them the taste of that. So that's basically where we're going. We did talk about the industrial ed, but then also the CBI with the skilled living. We introduced a semester class that's called cooking. You know, that was one of the things the students said, is that we want to learn how to cook. And they're doing a great job right now in there. We just only have 4 little stations. So we don't have the ability, if we can get that space revamped and get a little more stations and a little more home economic type stuff, I think that's important for our kids as well. They really want that. So I think that's it.
What we're trying to solve here is this: we were losing our 7th and 8th graders. We would tell them, it's okay, wait till you're in 11th grade when you can go to welding and consortium, or you can go to building trades, or you can go to cosmetology, but wait till 11th grade. We had to do better than that. And that's part of what Wendy's talking about, is creating that program so 7th and 8th graders stick with us. We didn't have enough for them. That's part of what this is about, this community kitchen stuff, these welding spaces, the entrepreneurial STEAM class. That's keeping kids here involved and interested. Then we'll go to 11th grade and have some of those courses here, career tech ed training, but that's a big part of what we talked about. Some musical instrument update and replacement, in working with Mr. Throneberry. He's keeping everything together, but those are in bad shape. Lots of those pieces. So there's some musical pieces in here as well that we've worked in. That auxiliary gym, that community gym, for youth athletics, for senior citizen usage, and that robotics piece. And then finally, if you've been on our track, it's in bad shape right now, and we want to update our track. So we can't hold conference meets there. We can't hold district meets, regional meets. We'd like to expand that from 6 lanes to 8 lanes, so that can be a competitive track for us, and we can host all of those events for us. It would involve some lighting updates and scoreboard pieces to make that 8-lane track happen, but that's another piece that we're including here. That's a lot of what we're talking about tonight, but that warm, safe, and dry focus, you'll see this a lot, so we'll continue to focus on that. And we want to talk a little bit more about just the state of the state and where we're at building and grounds wise. It's one thing to bring in a company and talk about what we think you need. This guy lives it every day. Let's just give him a round of applause just because he does it. Brian Hoover.
All right, so I just want to touch base with and echo a lot of what has already been said. All these people have great visions. This is what they want to do. This is where we want to expand. Touching in the welding district. My job is to make sure she got enough power to run the welders. For our track and our lighting over there, it's to make sure we've got the power, it's to make sure we've got the room, make sure we've got the engineering, the designs, what we need to do to keep it all together. My every day is making everything run. Brad talks about the warm, safe, and dry. Like, I make sure we have roofs that don't leak. My team makes sure that all our furnaces run. Make sure that everything in the background works the way that it should. Our goal is to make all of that stuff work the way that it should, so we're not responding to the emergencies all the time when things break. Right now, a lot of what we're running with is, especially here at the high school, Riverside, 20-year-old technology, 25-year-old technology. We can make it work, and we do every single day. But we're chasing our tail sometimes. You know, these are computers and drivers and control boards from decades ago that no longer speak the same language as the ones we can buy today. So, are we making it work? Yes. Could we make it better? Yes. So, that is, yeah, that's a lot of what I have to say. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm a background guy. I don't come up here and talk like this.
We have some folks from the construction manager group from Moore Trosper, and they've been invaluable throughout this process. They've done this lots of times, and so they are able to guide us through this process. We have one of their, can I say owners, is that right? Heather Place. Heather is with us. Please stand up, Heather. Heather is with us tonight. Ron Jazwici, he is here with us tonight. He is a former superintendent. Tony Hollow is with us tonight. And we want to just give them a little opportunity to talk about what they've been through, what they've seen through this assessment, and where they think we're headed as a school district.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start.
And go loud. That's not really a mic. We're just talking in for the recording.
Okay.
Great. Well, we're just excited to be here and helping your district kind of do all the things that you want to see kind of come to fruition. We've been here for quite some time, you know, crawling in the tunnels, checking out the roofs, all those things that need to kind of happen to put together your facilities audit. Let's move around up front here so everyone knows it's going to turn around. A couple of things that we do as construction managers is we make sure that your project stays on budget. Right, that the numbers that you have set aside for Series 1, 2, and 3, those goals are met. We work with the design team, right? We ebb and flow back and forth. As a matter of fact, they were great partners through the whole facilities audit process. Matter of fact, they led a lot of the areas there, not only with the nuts and bolts, but also the instructional pieces. And so we team with them and the district to make sure we kind of help you build your dream. But we manage all the construction. We make sure that all the projects go out to bid, that you get the best bid participation, that you get the best pricing, and we make sure everything's completed up to the standards that you would expect in your own home. We pride ourselves in that. We work across the state, and we're family oriented, and we really make sure that you're going to get what you have been promised throughout this whole process. So we're excited to be here as well, and I'm going to turn it over to my partner here, is hopefully predicting a good outcome tonight. Yes. So, Tony?
Go Lions. I've been giving Dr. Bizu a couple of these already because got an 8 o'clock kickoff. We're excited about that. We're excited about that. We truly appreciate the opportunity to be here. Ron was very technical in what we have done so far, and I appreciate that on behalf of Moore Trosper. I want to talk about our roles, Ron and I especially, under the direction of Heather, from a superintendent's perspective. We're a unique company in regards to having a couple of superintendents as part of their team. I was a Jackson County superintendent at Vandercook Lake. I did mention that in the last presentation, and I want to draw your attention to that again. I was at Vandercook for 29 years. Coming in, yes, I'm sorry. In 29 years and 13 of those as a superintendent, and then coming into this position, they too wanted to look at some work. The last time anything had been done there, similar to when the high school was done here. We did get a call. We met with them, and upon the conversation, their newest superintendent, who joined them about 1 year ago, we did some work with the same finance people we're talking, you will be meeting soon, and they found out that their opportunity for renewal expired. And when that happened, it was a lot of it was just because of transition, 2 superintendents since me, and it was devastating to them because of the fact that that was an opportunity to be able to get the best value for the things that they needed, similar to what I believe the proposal puts in front of the people of Manchester. I do understand the options, and Dr. Bizu is going to talk about that. Of course, not selecting the bond would cause a reduction in taxes. But for what needs to be done for this community, the value it brings to the students, not only now but the students to come, that's pretty much a one-time shot. And from someone who has seen it firsthand and experienced it, I hope, as a team, as a group, as a family, we take advantage of that value. Heather?
I just wanted to add, so we are a family-owned business. My dad started this company 40 years ago when I was 10 years old, so do the math. But not afraid to tell my age. But it's important to note that it's about the kids. This is not about what I want or what you want or what you want. This is about what's going to make it important, what's going to propel the children to the future. I don't have children, but I'm one of these people that whenever a school bond comes up in my community, I always vote yes. Only because people don't arbitrarily ask for an increase in do we want to continue the bond? Do we want to renew it? People, they don't ask for it for no reason. This is so that the changes and the upgrades that need to be made are so that the kids can succeed. I mean, I absolutely love what you guys are doing here with this STEAM wing. I was so fascinated by this entrepreneurial program that's out there. I'm like, every school should do this. Every student needs an opportunity to learn how to make money without just having to work a 9-to-5 job. I mean, granted, they're probably going to work 15 hours a day if it's their own business, but so I just wanted to state that this isn't just about taxes being renewed. This is about giving back so the kids can succeed and compete with the people that are in all these other districts. So if you have questions, we'll be here afterwards, but I just felt I wanted to share that. So thank you.
Thank you. Just a little more, and then I swear we'll get to the questions. That's why you came. We want to make sure we offer plenty of time for that. Just a little bit about the survey that we did, some of the community forums that we did last year. You can see I'm taking this survey as a community member. 83 of the respondents, 156 were parents. Do you currently have children attending Manchester School? 164 of the respondents did. This is kind of how we prioritize. We had a session in here where we had sticky notes. What was most important to you? What was most important to our community? And we also did this in the survey. You'll see some very common themes, and that's reflected in our proposal. Do I support safety and security proposed projects in this bond? It's off the charts. 199 of the total, that was their lead priority. That's reflected here. Addressing aging buildings. Proposed project support, that was our second biggest. Third, the media center improvements, some of those STEAM improvements at Riverside, Klager, and Junior Senior. That was this. And we'll go right down the list here. STEAM and CTE keep scoring well, and it's reflected in our robotics, in our STEM classes, in our STEAM makerspace at kindergarten, Joe Walsh's class at Riverside, 3rd through 6th. It's the most engaging part of the day for our students because they get to move around, they get to learn, they get to do hands-on things, they get to get ready for their future. That's important, and now we're doing that K through 12. That was important to this community too. They want to make sure their kids have these opportunities, and that's reflected there. So here they are, and this is hard to read, but I'll kind of put it in. A high score, the highest scores of the projects that came out through the survey and the community forums with our community. And I'm going to share this after tonight. We'll probably do at least one more community forum before we get there. But we'll share this. We want to make sure you have everything you need to make an informed decision. The highest one out of the 6 that were on there, 5.03, enhanced safety and security throughout the district. Next was upgrade infrastructure and building system, roofing, paving, HVAC, lighting. That's the warm, safe, and dry. That's what our community is saying as well. Next was create the new CTE and STEM facilities, Career Tech Ed, STEAM. Next, the media centers. Down at 2.16 was the new auxiliary gym club space. And then at 1.82 was expand the track. So that's kind of how it came through with our input, our community stakeholders within that survey. I think we've hit this, but capturing the Klager Riverside piece, each classroom being updated, modernized, the STEAM lab at Riverside and Junior Senior, the auxiliary community gym, the track, and classroom technologies. This guy is in the fist fight every day for our classroom technologies, keeping us current. Let's hear it for Ben Bursma.
So my big piece, very first thing, is very much like Brian. The back end, the stuff that keeps it all running, the servers, the switches, the wireless, the things that are not in your rooms necessarily directly being touched, but very much keep our students' privacy and our students' data safe, keep the network running, keep all of us safe from being able to continue to alert and monitor, and if we have an emergency, be able to make sure everyone is aware of it. I threw up some dates here for when our equipment is reaching end of life. You'll notice some of those dates have passed by a bit. But that's not to say that we just stopped functioning. But like anything else, you take a gamble with how many miles do you run past that, oil change. How long do you go before there is a problem? So a big piece of this, Manchester has done really great with kind of continuing to replace this technology on the cycle that it needs to be, and we're just hitting the kind of next big chunk of that cycle. We put in a great series of fiber between all the buildings in the last bond, in the Series A portion of it, I believe, and replaced the network infrastructure then as well, and now we're going into a new, 7 years, 8 years from that. And we're going to need to be able to replace a lot of this equipment. We're continuing to add new technology, new devices. They have higher demands. We want to build more STEM and STEAM programs. Those are going to include applications that need, a little more oomph, a little more backbone. So a big piece, this is kind of a security piece, being able to connect to other emergency providers, being able to have that integrated technology across the district. As well as then, going down into the actual student staff devices in classroom technology. One of the ones, a lot of the stuff I've been seeing or looking at is more engagement in classroom integration, a little less teacher either in just the front teaching or in the back, with a computer, more of being able to engage with the technology more seamlessly. So that's where you get into some of these more smart boards and smart, they were smart boards back when you had to have a projector connected to a board. They're now smart TVs, really. But it allows you to kind of have, an endless whiteboard as an example, pull up templates of designs and documents, really demonstrate and work with the students on kind of a one-to-one basis on the board, as opposed to kind of having to use your staff laptop and be in the back, or have it connect to a document camera and kind of have to, be stuck to a corner, really, because that's where all of your stuff plugs in. So really being able to get out from behind a desk, get up and engaged with the technology. And then I got this last piece here. I kind of already covered it, but safety and alerting. Having boards, we've added a TV here to the commons, but continue to kind of expand into that, which is routing, notifications, alerts, having our staff and students be able to display materials on a regular kind of changing basis as opposed to just tack boards. So really kind of that cross collaboration. So in terms of what this will offer for our students is there are other districts that are offering these platforms, these products, and that's great. We want to be able to draw those kids in, but also really looking to the kids that we have here and the ones who will continue to come through here and giving them that opportunity to, once they leave here, compete with all of those students or even be ahead of some of them is, I think, a great opportunity that we can continue to offer.
Ben, where are you from?
We're here. I am right out of Manchester, K through 12. Got Klager, had a little bit of Ackerson, and what is now Riverside, and then I got 4 years of this great high school right after it was built. So.
Thank you, Ben. Let's hear it for Ben. Thank you. A big piece to this architect and design piece, and they haven't done all of this yet for us because we've got to win first and then more details on the actual projects. But I want to emphasize, and more Trosper hit on it, we hit on it last time, that all of these projects do have to go out for bid. And someone asked a great question last time with regards to local groups and local businesses and local firms. That's important to you all. I know that I've lived that here. That's important to me. That's important to us as a school, that they are a part of this as well. So we want to make sure that they get every opportunity if we do win this, because that's stimulus for everybody. That's good for everybody. And we want to make sure that they're involved in this. It's not just more Trosper doing all of the projects. It has to be competitively bid, and we want our community to be a part of that. Our architecture and design firm, GMB, is with us, and Kevin Bocci is here today. Kevin, a nice welcome for Kevin.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the details around the effort that's gone into this project and the development of the scope and what it looks like for the future of your community up to this point. As part of the architecture and design team, we spent a significant amount of time over the last year plus to understand where you've been as a community, where you've been as a district, how you've used your facilities, what they look like today in its current state and their current state, how they're utilized, and then what they're going to look like in the future, potentially, with a successful bond campaign. And what that means is essentially we're starting out with an understanding, a strong baseline to know what your facilities are today and what condition they're in, and how they could be utilized to leverage or maximize the experience of future learners for the 21st century learning environments that we see today. And so we walked, and by we there was a large team, 6 to 8 people from design architects to engineers, and we walked each of the facilities, say spent a day plus at each, just to get into the nitty-gritty and in addition to understanding their condition today, how they're being utilized and how we might be able to modify those 4 walls and maximize what that experience is for future learners. We looked at everything from how they're utilized on the curriculum side to life safety components to maybe some deferred maintenance items, and through the assessments we identified the low-hanging fruit being the priorities. Which of those items need to be addressed first? If we all had unlimited funds, we could do unlimited projects, but unfortunately that's not the world that we live in. And so it was important for this assessment, or these assessments plural, part of this audit, to identify the emerging needs as a priority, say 1, 2, and 3. What's going to need to be addressed in the next 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. And really walk through what that looks like. And from a facility standpoint, that's everything from older equipment that maybe isn't as efficient as it should be or could be today, and identifying maybe areas for energy improvement, to the classroom experience for those 21st century learners, kind of like I had touched on. It's a collective team that puts together what the bond scope is, and then works right alongside more Trosper in developing what the bond scope is and pairing dollars to that, and using the dollars in the scope to identify which we can move forward with and hopefully move forward with a successful campaign. So that's kind of the process as we start out in understanding where you've been and where we're headed and what this could look like for your community.
Kevin, talk a little bit about if we were to win, we would do this in 3 series of
That's right.
pieces. We talked about Klager right away. We talked about more of the Riverside piece and some of those bigger projects. And really, this isn't, we're all going to do this next summer. And I want to make sure everybody understands that part, that this is a 8 to 9 year commitment here that we're looking at. We all know the issues in supply chain, the increases in cost. We've been comparing a lot to surrounding districts and what it cost Clinton to do this 2 years ago and Saline to do this 10 years ago, and the game has changed. So talk
That's
a
right.
little bit about the issues that you guys have had there.
So there's a lot that goes into a construction project, especially as it relates to renovations and additions on buildings and logistics and how the spaces are used. Right, as you know, we've got the summer period for students, and that's realistically not a very long amount of time to get a lot of work done. And so the design team works closely with the construction management team and determines what might be the best phasing for the work and the scope that needs to happen throughout the buildings. And sometimes that's work in 3 different phases over 3 different summers or 6 different summers in one building, or sometimes that's just one building and all the work and the focus gets addressed in that. And across the state of Michigan and across bond projects everywhere, that's a conversation that's had right out of the gate, and it's even before projects start or bond campaigns go to vote, right? It's what can we do and when can we do it, and what do the financial projections look like to be able to afford what can realistically be done. Brad touched on it, that the supply chain, that's a big component of recent conversations of, okay, what are the lead times for these pieces of equipment? What are the lead times for these components and these finishes, and how long will it take to get that on site? And then we work backwards from there, and how the construction documents get put out to bid. To get a competitive bid, there's a timeline that gets added there. And then it's, okay, we've got the bids, now we can move forward with procurement. Okay, that could be 24 weeks, that could be 39 weeks. And we start to really look at that as we roll out the full construction schedule and what those components might be. So you're absolutely right, there's been some curveballs as of late, but nothing that can't be handled and managed.
Thank you, Kevin. Just wanted to show you the document that we shared with everybody, all of our stakeholders, to our Board of Education. This was the work they did, from playground equipment to classrooms to building envelope, they call, to sidewalks, to that comprehensive district-wide assessment. And they told us the state and the life of the items in each of these areas. This was our Klager one, for example, but looking at the outdoor athletic facilities, obviously they don't have any, but the playground, the roof system, assessing all of those things and the updates that need to be happening sooner rather than later. The 7 and the 10 years is the green piece there, and you can see that there's some things that need to be taken care of quicker at Klager. They went through, and I'll go into the application a little bit further, but the same for Riverside and assessing that, as well as Manchester Junior Senior High School. So just part of this process that we're trying to bring to life tonight regarding all this. This is just a few of the projects and areas that GMB has brought to life, designed throughout the state of Michigan, through everywhere. That's the kind of look that we're looking for classrooms, for these media centers, for the STEM, STEAM, tech areas. That's just some of their work that they've done in other places. This is about money. That's what we're asking for on Tuesday, November 7th. $64 million. That's a lot of money. We know what we're asking. We know how serious this is. We also know how serious of a place we are as a school district and what we want to create to retain students in this declining enrollment environment. We want Manchester Community Schools to be the centerpiece of the Manchester community. Without it, I'm not sure what is left. So we want to make sure that we're offering the very best. Those things look fancy and those things look expensive, and they are. But we think our students deserve this. We're committed to providing these opportunities for our students, but it costs money. And we've got our Director of Finance, Shannon Kajik, here tonight, as well as our friends from Baker Tilly. Jesse Nelson is here. We'll invite them up. Give them a little welcome here tonight. Thanks for being here.
Keep it if you
There
want.
it is. And then we'll
Try
get
to go
Jess.
with this. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Loud and proud, because that's not a mic.
Okay. Hopefully I don't turn it off or drop it or throw it. So as you know, there's a lot of moving parts that go to make our school district run, and they all converge on in the business office. Okay, sorry about that. So they all converge on the business office. So we are going to take a look at some of our neighboring, thank you, Jesse, our neighboring bond proposals that had passed, along with ours. So our last bond proposal was in 2014, and this was basically our tech bus safety bond. And we had taken out 3 series in this bond, and we actually just drew our last series this past May. So we have actually made this bond last for we're going to have it last for over 9 years, so that's fantastic. This bond focused on buses, safety such as cameras. There's a ton of cameras. We still need a ton more. We're always working on that. And then the PA systems, the communication systems, and our Chromebooks for our 1-to-1 ratio for our students to be able to have. We had some questions about what bond the high school was on, and that was actually in the 2001 bond. Yeah, like that. So you might be asking, what can we purchase and use these bond funds for? Let's hit on what we cannot first. So the basic general repairs of school buildings, the general everyday maintenance of the school buildings, salaries and benefits and curriculum. Those are all items we cannot pay for with bond funds. So basically we have a capital project funds that we commit funds every year to help offset those costs, and those are also paid for with general fund dollars as well. Brian is in my office almost every day asking for things. There's always those things, so we try to keep up the best we can with our limited resources that we have. And then the salaries and benefits and the curriculums, we do our best. We have over $2 million in grants that we process and try to help support and offset those costs as well. I think I hit all those topics. Oh, we'll say real quick, what we can spend it for is everything that we talked about tonight. The construction of school buildings, additions, remodeling of school buildings, renovations to the buildings or athletic facilities, technology, equipment, school security improvements, school buses, furnishings and equipment, playground development improvements, and the energy conservation improvements. Okay, so basically the quick rundown of what a mill. What is a mill for everyone? What is the taxpayer to kind of go through a $200,000 market value home? The taxable value is 50%. So for every $1,000 in taxable value, a property owner would pay $1. So when you look at the $200,000 market value home, 1 mil is equal to $100. And we get the 8.5 mils from the township assessors. I have my notes. And basically, once the 8.5 mils is collected, the township treasurer sends us the payments, and then we actually have a separate tracking system, a separate bank account that it goes into. And then we have separate auditing for that too. So it's really important that when the funds come in, they're tracked in detail, and we can provide backup to say where these funds were spent, and that's audited by a third party.
Great, thank you, Shannon. Again, my name is Jesse Nelson. I'm a certified public accountant with Baker Tilly. We work with school districts in the area of capital planning, finance, the property tax calculations, putting the financial plans together and running through these systems. So I'll cover any questions on that. What we have here is a good slide of summarizing the bond proposal. If you look up at the top right corner of the gray box, the total proposal is $64,820,000, and that's proposed to be completed in 3 phases or 3 series. In 2024, 2026, and 2028. A lot of the schools have gone to doing bond series or bond phases because it's a little bit more cost effective. You know, we're not taking on $64 million immediately. You have 2 years in between each bond sales to repay the existing bonds as well as the proposed bonds, and that helps with the interest expense cost a little bit. The other thing that we're finding is that's going to be more on the construction team is we want to avoid paying interest expense on debt you don't need. If you can't do that project for 3 to 4 years, you want to have the financing target to when you can do the construction, again, to avoid paying interest expense and $64 million immediately. So that's a lot of the reasons why you can see that the bonds are spread out. Then also, as we've talked about before, the school district is able to do this project without having to increase the current bond millage rate of 8.50 mils. How that's going to be accomplished is the bond millage rate's not going to drop as quickly. It's going to be extended the period of length of time. So we're not raising the millage rate, but the amount of time that the bond millage rate will be effective will be a little bit longer in order to pay with the existing bonds and the proposed bonds for this proposal. Okay. Press the down arrow. I got it. And so that's illustrated on this chart. So right now, the green line is our current estimate on where our bond millage rate is going with the existing bonds and the balances that we have from the prior capital improvement bonds that have been completed. If the bond proposal is approved, you can see the 8.5 mils will be extended out a little bit longer to about 2032, and then it's estimated to begin dropping further with final repayment then in 2053. So that's how we're able to accomplish doing $64 million of improvements without having to raise the property tax millage rate because it's being extended over a longer period of time. All right.
We make our debt payments, sorry, I'm not used to this. We make our debt payments twice a year with those funds. So that's also, we've been paying down our debt really quickly on schedule, and everyone was asking about the high school. This was a hot topic. When does a high school get paid off? And that's when you will see in 2032 that start to decline because we are continuing to pay our debt payments down, and that frees up the funding.
Shannon, you talked a little bit about the savings along the way. Did you hit on that already, or kind of some of that process?
Sure, yeah, we did. Over the past years, we have done some refinancing, which has saved the district from my historical reporting and research. We have we have saved the district over $2 million in funds by refinancing.
We'll get questions, I'm sure, and we're almost done here, so we'll move on to our next guys. But Jesse, thank you, and thank you, Shannon. The big deal is November 7th. Voting, the absentee ballots go out this week, so we want to make sure on that. And it'll go very quickly over the next month and a half. We've got lots of folks here to take questions, so that's an important piece of this evening. Whatever you want to ask, we'll try to answer. If I don't know, I don't make stuff up, so I will find out an answer. But if there's a question that you'd like to ask any of our folks from GMB, Finance, Shannon will come up front here and we'll take any questions that you have at this time.
I have a question about the schooling.
Yes,
We're just building our space. Are we equipping that space?
that's part of it, yes. The technology, the furnishings, all of those pieces. Let me go into that a little bit because I said I would go into that. Hold on. Let me just pull this up because people have been asking about where all this came from, and this was our actual application to the Department of Treasury, and kind of breaking down some of the costs of those projects. I did this last time, but here's the Luther C. Klager piece of that $64 million, $12,744,000. It's remodeling Of that 12 million, 7 million are for those classrooms, that media center update, and that first series of projects. So just wanted to show the blow-by-blow cost, and to your point, we had to go all of the technology, the furnishings, and outfitting those classrooms, similar to what we were doing to the classrooms we would do for the steam wing as well. Let me keep going a little bit more. So that goes every project at Luther Klager. The Riverside sheet was $15 million. That's a little bit later. $9 million of that was for the remodeling, the updating of the Riverside Steam Lab, that media center piece. And that's the update there. And then Manchester Junior Senior. We do Joe Freeman. We've been able to get him certified. He's still taking his courses. He's permitted currently. He's been kind of a breath of fresh air. So I think people like Joe Freeman better. And then Joe Walsh, of course. He's only K-8 though, so Joe can only take us up to 7th and 8th. We think it's an asset. He keeps those kids engaged.
Well, and the nice thing about that too is if we're able to get the Washington Consortium to help us and to do that, they'll supply teachers as well. So, you know, if we don't have somebody who, like, Joe is, Mr. Freeman is in the welding and the building trades, that's his profession. That's what he did before. So how that works is he gets fast tracked from the education standpoint because he has that certification, he has years of experience in CTE and in industrial ed, so that's why he can get his certificate right away. But they'll also, so like let's say we end up being able to create something else with the next space that we don't have a certified working with Washtenaw, they can, in the consortium, they can supply teachers for us.
Just some of the other big ticket items. The STEM wing remodeling here at the high school, $2,058,000. The track update with including the bleachers, fencing, lighting, scoreboard pieces that would go with that expansion, $2,100,000. The other piece was the construction of the auxiliary gym, $5.5 million for that space as well as the gym. Trying to be as open and transparent as possible with all of this. That's important to our community. We've shared some of this online. We'll continue to answer these questions. We'll refer you to our FAQ, update those pieces, but that's how we got there.
So can we go back to the wing?
Yes.
So what school districts would you anticipate would join us in Manchester for the STEAM, for Southwest Washington?
Ryan Rose said they can fill a section right now of welding. There's kids on the wait list from Milan that can't get access to it. So that was part of even them just donating some of that equipment to us. We created the machining and maintenance class, and I think that isn't anywhere in the consortium. So if a student wanted to come here for machining and maintenance, that was a course that we wanted to create with Ryan. Now Kara Stemmer, she's
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because like Saline has a huge population, that's why we're going,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
They have the hub.
Who would we draw in, like, school-wise? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, but, so Milan has several.
Yeah,
like-
there's only so many slots in the
Right.
consortium, and kids are on wait lists, and if they can't get it, Celine's full, that's what we're trying
So
to do.
you're anticipating that there could be a welding here and in Saline?
Absolutely.
When will this thing be done?
I think this was the second series, 2026, so. No. 2023, they're talking about 2028, within that 5-6 year period.
So it'll be, so what's gonna take 8 to 10 years?
All of these projects and us having to spread the money over those 3 sessions. I'd love to do it all in the first year.
Specifically, you have like more of how it's gonna be done, I guess that's.
Yeah, I think part of that was that prioritization of the Klager piece, the STEM stuff, and then the auxiliary in that third.
We're taking 6 years, 8 years, something else.
build those spaces, but it's a priority.
Do we do like an analysis of how many children this would cost?
We would have to look at the number of sections at the other, and we have those numbers. And then also our declining enrollment, we had to do that enrollment study as part of our application.
Do we have like access to that?
Yeah, I can share the kind of the numbers of the projected.
You know, like how many kids are we actually, because we're continuously.
Yeah, we're at 740 students right now.
Is there a financial benefit for the consortium? Like, do we gain any money from other schools, or is it just?
Well, it's certainly the opportunity for us, and then we don't have to pay for those slots, because you pay for a number of slots in the consortium, so we wouldn't use as many to pay for Celine. We would get those slots back, so to speak. Carrie, go ahead.
I have new faces here, so I apologize for the repetition.
Absolutely.
People that were at the first one, but, and I do appreciate all the work that's gone into this. There's a lot of networking, like a year and a half of it. I guess, me as a taxpayer, I feel has been kind of left out of the conversation. Washington County, as everybody knows, has the highest property tax in the state. 83 counties were the highest, higher than Wayne, higher than Macomb, were the highest, and Freedom Township is the third highest in Washington County. So 40% of my tax dollars are going to the school with this bond, and with the current bond that's going to be extended. So I just want to let you know that that's where I'm coming from. I had approached you about the survey last year, and I signed up and was never contacted. So, you know, in that survey, did you have any, like, you can add the list of options to a vehicle, but eventually you gotta pay for that.
Yeah.
Was in the survey, was there like any, idea of getting the public's view of how many tax dollars this is gonna be? Like, you know, what would you pay for this? Would you know, just to get a view of, like, get the public's point of view of how much it's gonna cost. Because personally, as a taxpayer, I have sticker shock. And, was there anything on the survey to say, hey, how much are you willing to pay?
There was opportunity for input and things that we didn't include. Share your thoughts, whatever on this. We didn't ask, would you pay 8.5 mils or 4.4 mils or 2 mils, or
Right.
we didn't make that as an option. This is a renewal for us, and I would be negligent as a school superintendent if I didn't bring this renewal before our community. Whatever y'all say is what y'all are going to say, but I did my job to make sure that, to Tony's point, Vandy missed their renewal window, and everybody got that break, and it went down to 3.4 mils, and we'll figure it out. What will be tighter in budget and all those things, but that's not making us the place. That's not making us the place to be.
Typically, what is that period, that window you talk about, the renewal window?
Well, this one's coming up on this year. This one's ending at 8.5 mils. That's why I'm coming before you. The life of the high school one was, I think, 30 years, the 2001, and you'll see right at 30 years, that's when the high school dropped off there in 2032. So we'll get a natural break there. Even if you renew this 8.5 mils, it'll go down to 7 and 6, and we'll get to do all these things. But we will ask, because the need is here. Keep going.
We talk about building, upgrading,
Yep.
but I don't hear anything about maintenance, the cost of keeping the stuff up. How do you plan that? I mean, the biggest thing that comes to mind right now is right across the street, the turf.
Yep.
That was an expensive project.
That's right.
They figure, 10 years life out of that? I think we're into 6 right now.
Shannon, come on up.
That's
Shannon,
some
come on.
bucks over there.
Yeah, that's part of
How
it.
do you protect yourself keeping this stuff going?
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Is that-
So we
I'm with you.
actually, so it's recommended like a standard to put about 3 to 5% of your operating
So right now it's almost at $400,000. You talked about the field. Yes, that is on our radar, and that is quite expensive to redo. So hopefully every year we're just gonna see what our expenditures are and put as much money as possible every year into that fund to be able to
Life
support that.
experiences tell me that you need to stick as much in there as you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, I agree with you. So, yes, the field will, with COVID, it'll give us a couple of extra years probably because we didn't have as much activity. So the life of those fields, they're about 7 to 10 years. GMP could probably tell us they better on that, but that's the projection that I was told. So that we could probably add 2 more on to what we were originally expecting just because of the less activity on it.
And healthy school districts keep a good fund balance of around 10% fund equity. And we've been at that number of 12 and 14% fund equity, and being good stewards of the money. We don't want to get to 5 because then there's lots of red bells that go off and alarms and state come in and all of those things. So we've lived not frugal, I don't want to say that, but it will come out of somewhere, and it will be general budget, capital project, and some of those quote fund equity funds.
So if we're being responsible, why are we purchasing paint and carpet and desks that are not gonna last? Like they're gonna be gone in
Well,
how many years?
because these
Paint's gonna be gone in-
are 20 and 25 years old.
Okay.
We didn't take the tour at Klager, but they're not in good shape.
Why weren't we maintaining paint? Why are we paying for 30 years for paint?
Well, because we were replacing rooftop units and all the other things that
Well, if
maintenance.
you can't-
There's only so much money.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
No,
I just need to
we're just
understand
talking.
So I know
That's right.
what I want to do, so.
Keep going.
It's interesting.
So
'cause
if you're paying, if you're telling us that you're maintaining and taking that from the general fund and doing what you can do, we can't even do the basics right now if we can't even paint our building.
we've been painting. It's more of a remodel.
They
Then
did.
Yeah.
why are we paying, why would we pay for a desk? It's like me buying and purchasing a 30-year mortgage and including my furniture in it that I'm not gonna have in 10 years. That to me is not, it's a little frivolous. I feel like those kind of things, you kind of took our money and said, this, I'm not saying I don't like so much of this, I do like a lot of it, I appreciate it. I don't like
That's fair.
The frivolous spending that's not gonna even be here. My son is gonna be 47 when this is paid off.
So just to point out as far as maintenance is concerned, because this falls directly into my wheelhouse.
Okay, Gary's
No,
back.
that's fine.
Hold on, finish up, Ryan, then we'll go to Gary.
And we do maintain. A desk that fails, we replace. And they are replaced with like kind in order to try to make sure that everything matches as best we can. We have mixed it up along the way in order to get the numbers that we need as we've rearranged buildings and rearranged classrooms over the years. But the desks we're purchasing to replace and fix are our 20, 30-year-old, or not 30-year-old, they're expected to last as long as the original ones that were put in. What we're looking at more is not the maintenance that we're doing, we're looking at the remodeling of it. So if you're going through and completely redoing walls, then you're going to paint them at the same time. You're going to replace several of the furniture that's in there. But it hasn't been as deferred, so to speak, as where we've just not done anything at all. It is being replaced as is needed.
So for instance, that's hard to read, so I may have read it wrong or not. I can't see it. But it was really tiny and it said, so for Klager, it said finishing, what does it say?
Yeah, finishings, yeah, furnishings, stuff like that.
$1 million.
I've lost hair and eyesight, lots of good eyes.
If we knew what we were looking for, we'd have been able to help you.
I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, this is not. Let me go a little bigger on, this is junior high, we go back to later. Let's see, because there's some good points here. Remodeling the 7 million, instructional technology to go, to your point, to go into those classrooms, 700,000. The loose furnishing equipment, 530,000, that kind of thing. Is that what?
And Klager,
That's at Klager, yeah.
I was looking, maybe go up. It was hard to do, I can read that, it was hard to read.
It's a little bigger. It's like this format I have here. Okay, I think we've hit on it a little bit, but the classroom furniture, the flooring, the carpeting, the lighting. We're hitting almost 21 classrooms just to, there's additions going on at different buildings. We're touching every classroom at Claver and Riverside.
Keep it pneumatic thermostats.
Well, those have been long gone.
But I showed you our classrooms currently.
But wait, I know. So the furniture we got 20 years ago will last. The furniture you're buying today, we have childhood centers. I know the difference between 20 years ago quality and durability as to right now.
We do replace with like kind right now. So what I buy today to replace, say, our chairs out here in the Commons are expected to last the same time period as the chairs in the Commons. These were
Okay, well, this bond's not gonna be done for 30 years, so we're gonna have to do this again.
So, and also I think like we were trying to say like every household has a budget. So like, wouldn't you say like, oh, this year's the living room? Like, not every house gets revamped every year. You're talking about $64 million of just complete revamping, and it just seems like a lot of money to be asking for something that's 30 years out.
It's gonna be gone, I mean, it's gonna be.
And there are pieces I like too, but I have a really hard time with carpet and furniture and things like that. Like, it just, you know, in your own home that stuff doesn't last. Like, and there's kids on it every day. Like,
It
I just
feels like you wanted to keep us at 8, whatever, because that's what our bills are. So you just.
We're long overdue for an update in our school district.
I'm not saying you're
Long
not, I'm
overdue.
not saying you're not, but I'm saying.
But you are.
No, I'm not. I am
You're saying we
absolutely
can
not.
do it whenever
That's
we
not
get to
true,
it.
I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
saying there has to be a better way to do it than pay for it for 30 years.
That's right. Gary wanted to jump in. Gary.
One consideration I want to have background is I haven't heard anything on touching on solar. Is there any consideration for that for the district to do things with solar to help? Because that's one thing that'll help cut costs. I mean, you have a big initial investment. Have they done anything to get into that?
All of that infrastructure is here. Shannon might be able to talk about some of the savings because our board is always interested in. It's not as significant, Gary, as we were hoping or we thought, but talk a little bit about our usage of that, some of the savings that we've done.
Sure, I couldn't.
Come on up here, Shannon.
The question back there, what was the question, solar?
Yeah, just utilizing solar, utilizing that big project that we did, and what has been the benefit to this point?
So the big energy saving conservation project that we did not come to ask for a bond for the taxpayers. We pay that out of general fund. So the field, the athletic field, we are continuing to pay that loan for the field, the lighting that we did there. So we're still paying on that portion, but that also included the solar projects, the energy efficiency projects. So just to kind of give you an idea, we had worked with a company at the time that we would, the solar panels, we pay for electricity about 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Am I saying that correctly? I'm not.
That the solar panels produce.
That the 9 cents, which on average is a savings, because if we paid for that same electricity with consumers, it would be 11 cents. So we are getting a savings. I would need my spreadsheet to tell you the year, but
Well, the
last
costs
I
go
looked.
up depending on the time of year because they charge us more for distribution.
Yeah.
So we figured when we looked at it as 16 cents a kilowatt hour average from consumers versus 9 cents kilowatt hour from the solar panels.
I'm always conservative, so yeah.
Can I-
So not $1 billion.
Cost the solar panels.
We don't own the solar panels.
Yeah, they're not.
We're on the hook just to buy everything they produce. I will. We're on hook to buy everything that they produce. That's what we agreed to. That's their structure. At the end of 25 years, we can buy it back for, I believe, $1. But Shannon and I sat down and we ran the numbers. And last year alone, those solar panels saved this district $50,000.
Have you noticed a difference in what you're getting out of them over the past few years?
We took a snapshot in time. I have not been monitoring them every month. I don't know.
I'd be happy to share that with you,
Okay.
so you could do that.
Not to get on the solar panel subject, but I see the panels themselves are deteriorating, the glass on them. I don't know if they're glass or plastic, I've never been that close to them.
I actually know
So
this.
we do not rent them.
They got, what, are they a glass?
They
Or Lexan?
They are glass. And part of our contract is a maintenance contract. For the money we spend to do that, the company that we work with maintains them for us. So they're checked yearly, visually inspected yearly, and they're constantly supervised and maintained through a network on the boxes. If any one of those solar panels fail, I know about it from a phone call within hours, and it's fixed within days. So,
And we do,
I'm just curious.
yeah, not on
It
us.
affects the efficiency of it,
yeah.
because I see a difference in the color of them.
And that's because some have been replaced. We're not us, but the company that does that, and I'm drawing a blank, it's their name off the hand, but they came out and replaced several of them this year that through their inspection discovered weren't producing what they should. And they had equipment in here to replace solar panels at all three of those sites. No.
we do not rent them, we do not lease them, they are strictly theirs, and so we just get the savings because we're paying them instead of consumers' energy, so that's kind of how that.
It's something I pay attention to, so.
If I could tell you just off the top of my head, when I see, I track the bills, what we pay them, and the kilowatts, and I track all of that. It's pretty standard in line here from month to month. Some, you know, if it's really sunny, it's higher usage than not, but it's pretty standard from when we started the program.
Jared, jump back in.
Does the solar panels affect the price, the amount we get per student? Because we're lower than a lot of the other districts. Does the solar panels affect that? I was confused about like the that proposal A stuff. So this isn't, the solar panels don't affect the.
It's not related to the proposal right now.
Okay, okay.
That was just
I
a
just think it was an energy thing,
Right.
Freedom Township
Yeah,
and all
well,
that.
if you recall, we did energy upgrades in all the buildings, and that's part of that. Along with the football field, that's all part of that energy proposal.
Okay,
And-
but this is not, or
Well, the solar panels we currently have are part of that. That was an energy upgrade, and the solar panels are part of that. The question is where are they at? We've got them over by Klager, we've got them on the roof here, over by the old, well, by the Riverside, in the old practice field. There's
Three areas.
There's a lot of them around the district, 50,000. At one point, the Buildings and Grounds was pursuing maybe putting some solar panels on some extra land. That, nothing's come of that because of COVID, it kind of stalled everything out, but that's a possibility.
It's already going on outside of town.
Yes, it is, yes, yeah.
Can I get some other, I'll come back, Jennifer, I swear. Any others that haven't jumped in yet? Questions? We got everybody here.
Is there a pot of gold that we're looking at somewhere as far as, I mean, there's not a lot of growth in the
Yeah,
community.
we'd like to see more
Well,
houses
one
built.
thing that just I happened to drive by, Consumers Energy has spent millions out at Freedom Township. Is there any revenue coming from that?
That's part of the work we've been doing as a group, meeting with our state representatives, our state senators. That does not come to the school. That goes to the state of Michigan. They give back to us that portion of those tax revenues, and then they make up. Everybody gets $9,700.
They take their 90 cents and they give you the dime.
That's what we've been working on. Now, that's not on us.
Yeah.
That's part of how
That proposal.
everybody voted that in 1994, a long, long time ago.
There's 2.8 million.
But it could be more equitable, to your point.
2.8 million comes from consumers into our operations, goes right to the state. There you go.
Let me get my man in here, go ahead.
All right, first to add to what you were saying earlier, like about the carpet and stuff at elementary school. I graduated in 2011, and I do remember the carpet looking like that back when I was there and when this was being built. But there was,
Hold on, let me finish. Go ahead.
but that was also around the same time that this was being built, and they built that expansion of the elementary school too. So there was that modernization, music room moved and stuff.
I'm not saying there doesn't need things to be done.
Right.
I'm
Not-
saying
I
please
mean,
don't.
right.
I said
What-
things I
this
don't-
is all I'm just talking, you know that.
There was that expansion that went up, I just wanted that,
But
like,
yeah,
Jennifer, you wanted
So-
to jump back in?
Yeah, so my
Yeah.
question is, so we're at the 8.5. If this does not pass in November, what kind of, like, because you can come back again to the voters, because you can put one on May, August, or November, it's elections. So what kind of interest rate would you be looking at? Like, is this 8.5, like, just because it's a renewal? Like, I'm just curious, like, if it didn't pass, and you put it on in 2024, what would it look like mill-wise?
Folks, please jump in. You don't have to wait. Go ahead. Jesse.
That's your estimate.
That's what'll happen to it'll go from 8.5 to 3.16.
Current estimate, nothing changed, we don't do any more projects.
Right, but let's say we put on one in, like, another bond in 2024, is like, the mill's gonna be more than 8.5? Like, I mean, I'm just asking, like, just because of the way the economy's going.
Right.
The comment always is, and for this particular project, is there was a desire not to increase the bond.
Okay,
And so
okay.
then you worked your way back as to what you can afford without having to do anything. Now, let's say this project was $100 million. That's about $40 million more in debt. Then yes, to pay that, they would have to go above 8.5.
An increase.
Does that make right?
Okay,
So it's dependent on the side of the project.
I see, okay, because we were just talking about that
Sure.
falling off, and I just was curious.
So when it starts falling off, my assumption will be, we'll do this again and we'll stay at 8.5.
Well, I don't know that, guys.
He's like, I'm retired.
Right.
That's 9 years from now. I hope we're still a school district. And this is really about property values too. My kids don't go to my school anymore. We voted a $180 million bond where we live. We believe in our school district. It helps our property values. On a $200,000 home, $100,000 taxable value, $850 for the year, $70 a month, $2.82 a day. That's what we're asking for the next 9 years. No, I know, unless a lot of things, but that's what we're talking about. That's right. Pat, jump in.
All right, and I'm glad you touched on that, because I'm thinking whether to say something.
Well, we're saying everything.
All right, so, when we get visitors that come in, to our office at the Village Hall, whether it's somebody that wants to look at investing in downtown business, a manufacturing plant, looking at homes, and they have lots of questions. Sometimes we take them on tours ourselves to show off our community. One of the biggest things we brag about is our schools. They come down here and they look at this, and it has an impact on whether or not they're going to invest their money, because how can we think other people are gonna invest in our community if we don't do it ourselves? And so that was the big thing when we redid Main Street. We want businesses on Main Street, it's gotta look clean and safe and welcoming to bring people in. Showing off these schools is a big part of getting people to come.
Let's take a couple more, because I do want to go watch the Lions. Go ahead.
My second thing was back on like safety. With,
Yes.
like all these, I don't mean to bring these up, like different districts and different states have had those school shootings and stuff. Is there, like, for example, since we have like the fire alarms at pole stations, included in that, would there also be like pole stations that would go right to like the sheriff's department?
That's right.
That would send alert like
That's part of
intruder or
this,
something
yes.
that, like,
Yes.
say someone's on the second level, can't get down, write the report, they pull the pole station and would send that alert and.
Yeah.
Ben, talk a little more about
Some of
that.
the improvements we made is simplifying some of our processes, like being able to access the intercom system for everyone in every classroom
Right.
via the press of a button. But yes, continuing on that would be including integrations where if we call 911, if all of that is going to be extremely focused into where it is. Some of those we already have to do as part of requirements, but being able to get those, alarms, you pull up in, it goes out, not just, it triggers here, and we all know that there's an emergency. We want to make sure people who need to get here.
Be dispatched immediately.
Exactly.
Have them call, like,
Oh,
this is clear.
We have that conversation during our Alice training of, we want to minimize minimize every second, every minute that it takes to get somebody here.
Right.
So can you talk about the auxiliary gym, how you were talking about like daily use of that? How would that work?
Yeah,
You
we'd
don't
have to
even let
staff it,
parents
but,
come in
but we
here.
don't need an instructional gym. We've got a big enough one there. I think for the daytime use, you would have to staff it. But our senior citizens already come in and use our track. Some of them do. They walk around our buildings. We would like to have it for pickleball. We'd like to have it for yoga classes. We'd like to expand, because we've been working with Pat and that group and the senior center about our options here. We're only as good as our kids in a community, and we're only as good as our seniors in a community. And we feel like we can be a part of that.
How do you screen those people to come in?
It would have to be staffed and security, the same type of entries.
Yeah, but you don't let parents in, so like.
You know, that was all the safe and secure.
That's right.
Warm, safe and secure. Do we, so this is kind of the warm, safe and secure, the high school is last on the list. Are we doing anything about the sewer backups? Because it's affecting kids being in school and stuff, like, can that be a priority?
I can answer that. And it's already been done.
Tell us about sewer backup.
Yeah, it's already been done, and we did this out of our normal maintenance. The sewer system here at the school did back up a couple of times within a very short period, and one time it's a fluke, okay, no problem. The second time, what have we got going on? We brought in some companies, cameraed everything, jetted everything, actually discovered some not mislaid, but yes, mislaid pipe outside of our school. It wasn't installed correctly in 2003, and some concrete debris that was in our pipes. So those were inspected, cameraed, jetted out, cleaned, and I don't expect any future problems with that. So already taken care of.
Absolutely. Go ahead, jump in.
Brad, you said something under your breath earlier, 9 years from now, if we still have a district. What is the outlook if this doesn't pass and we just stick with what we've got, follow the green line there, what do you?
We'll still be here, but it's continually, to Pat's point, when we take folks through our schools and our buildings, and then I'm gonna go visit 3 other buildings or districts around, and I have a choice to make. We live in the age of school of choice, and that's a good thing. But right now, I don't feel like we have a good tour, the best tour. Certainly feature the high school when we come, and there's lots of great things here. I wouldn't trade this high school and that athletic complex for anything. For our size of school in our district and how we perform with the limited number of students we have. We just won the Cascade Conference. We're 5-1 in football. We won volleyball last year. We perform miracles with our school district. But I just think that we need to upgrade and renovate to compete, and I don't think Klager and Riverside especially, and some of the other auxiliary or community things that we have, we don't have that here yet. That's how we compete with Clinton, Grass Lake, Napoleon. We've even been stealing some from Saline and Chelsea. We can do that. That's how but it's not just on the school to grow. We got to build some more houses here. We got to have some more babies here. That's all part of this too. We're all connected with this, and I think that this is a big part of that. Go ahead.
Your staff means a lot.
That's
You
right.
gotta have a staff.
Hold on, let him finish.
Bricks and mortar is one thing, but it's the staff.
Bingo.
Don't you think?
You gotta have a staff.
Hold on, let my man finish, and we'll go around.
My wife and I moved here in 2016 to raise our kids here and to have a small town experience. We're really glad we came. The schools were a big part of that decision to relocate to Manchester. We've never been out in this area before. And,
It's
that
special.
absolutely makes a difference. And we bought a house from a couple that was retired and their kids were grown. They've grown up in Manchester. And I think we need to do everything we can to keep that cycle going, to keep the families settling in.
That's the goal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hold on, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I was just, what you're gonna say about having babies kind of sparked my interest. So, I grew up.
I'm done with you.
I'll be here till 9. Well, what I was gonna say is, I grew up here in Manchester. Actually, me and Carl went to the same grade together.
Yeah.
And, my kids currently go to school with over 25 other kids that I went to school with their parents.
That's it.
And there's a lot of other people that could say their grandparents went to school together. Like you said earlier, this is the crown jewel of our community for the most part. town and try to find any business that's not busy when there's a football game, right? Like, it's a draw. And I 100% agree with you, right? Like, I'm not gonna give money, I'm not gonna give my taxpayer money to an organization that doesn't know how to use those funds properly. 100% agree with you. But there's also something to be said with we're competing. When I was in school and people came to our school, they were wide-eyed, right? New school, beautiful facilities. And to talk on your point of you know, it is just brick and mortar, right? These walls don't teach kids things, but these people do. And these people want to know that they're in a place where they're also not fighting for, you know, the things that they need to give their kids, you know, the best experience, their students, right? So I build furniture for schools, right? We do welding, we do all this stuff like that, right? No, there's a lot of garbage. Yeah, there is a lot of garbage out there. But what I see when I go to a school and they get new stuff, there's like a spark. Like, there's interest. The kids, they get excited about those things. And ultimately, that's the next version of who's coming through this community, right? Is those people. It goes up. Exactly. Well, yeah, absolutely, but everything falls apart, right? The investment is constant. We have to constantly invest. Absolutely, right? Yes, yes. We need to be smart with the fund. Exactly. And that's my piece. That's my piece.
Thank you for jumping in. Shannon.
I kind of wanted to touch on it.
We'll do Carol one more time, then that's it.
Absolutely. So basically, our fund, if you can think about it in a percentage form, we're in the people business. We're the people factory here. So the most of our funds are spent on people. On average, it's about 83, 4%, 87% of our funds are spent on people. A little bit more than that if you think about curriculum too. So every dollar that we can't spend on people and curriculum, it affects the kids, and we have to spend that general fund money on chairs, furnishings, remodeling. We can't get the raises for teachers. We can't, afford the quality of teachers. So it kind of all just jumbles together. Because I wanted to raise.
There's a staffing shortage, a teacher shortage across Michigan, across the United States. I started as a teacher in 1994 for $23,000. There aren't any more starting teachers for $23,000. We're getting staff and we're getting good staff, but we're having to overpay right now. And that's part of this. That comes from somewhere. It comes from general fund. It comes from these places. You can't have it all. We're busy trying to have at least most of it. Kara, jump back in.
I was wondering, back into the playground, when he said that he builds stuff for the schools.
Right.
Playgrounds, I have a client that's all his business is putting in playgrounds because he's certified to do the playgrounds. When you say you want to bid locally, do you have to use some contractors that are licensed through the state to do playgrounds, right?
That's right. You can't
So
just
there's
have.
some jobs you can't do local.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. They got to be certified.
No, but that, it's important.
Keep going.
That's a big thing. Our goal would be to pull in businesses in the community or community members that have businesses. If somebody is a licensed electrician, they do commercial work. If somebody is an excavating contractor that does commercial work, we want to make sure that the people in your community are ones that are going to be able to be bidding on this work. Bid packages would be structured in such a manner that, okay, well, these people, we put together like 3 or 4 different areas where, okay, this, we can make sure that community members can bid on this, and this, we put this package together to make sure community members can bid on this. That's what this is about. When I made the comment about it being a family-owned business, it wasn't just to say, oh, we're a family-owned business, but we understand community. We understand, I'm from a small town. I live in a small town now. I mean, I understand that this is not about just spending your tax dollars to, where's it gonna go? I mean, there's always questions, but I understand this is a community, and you guys want your input, and we wanna make sure that your community members are also involved in this, either with a voice or they're gaining business from it, so.
Can I?
So I have a great idea.
Let's hear it.
We're talking about like helping students get into trades, skilled trades. Early childhood is huge.
Well, it's a conceptual estimate, and I'll tell you, from a firm that does solely K-12 schoolwork and higher education, this is what we do, right? So we put together the scope based on what you've got, based on working with the staff, the principals, all the community members to say, this is where we're headed. More profitable construction manager, we work close together on varying projects, not just here in Manchester. And through those conceptual estimates, we get to a point where it's like, okay, this is where we're at with this scope. And what we all collectively try to do is get to a point where, I mentioned earlier, if we have unlimited funds, we do unlimited projects, but that's just not the world that we live in. And so it's a matter of right sizing based on what makes sense for you. And
So it just happened to land on me.
no, we happen to land, I mean, this is every project, every time. We happen to land way up here, and we have to, every time.
No, the assessment was a lot more. I'm not gonna go through every single thing that was cut. He and I sat with our leaders and said, we don't need this, we don't need, there was a lot that was cut. So, we didn't just say, 8.5, let's get it right to 8. That wasn't.
And it's very iterative, right? So it's not like, okay, we're here on Tuesday, we're gonna say, this is what we're gonna do. We're here, we're gonna be heroes, we're gonna do all this. And by Wednesday, we're going through and checking things off the list. It's like, well, what about this? And what about that? And it's a very collaborative, we're here working with you. And it's a very collaborative effort thing. It takes a year and a half. So to go, well, where did you start and what did you remove? Well, that took 32 conversations in 17 hours, and we got to a point where, like, it's not straight linear. I guess it's a challenging question.
So for instance, the meeting to get the community involved in it, 20% of that was teachers or staff, correct?
You mean in terms of the process?
Yeah.
We held meetings with Klager staff, Riverside,
Okay.
high school, community.
Yeah, but-
I don't know about the
but-
percentage.
Okay, as a teacher, I'm like, I want the moon and the stars. I would ask for, a lot. And our taxes go up every year. We're gonna pay whatever we have to pay, right? We're gonna do what we have to do. But if you're trying to encourage people to come here, knowing that our taxes are going up every year, and maybe just I'm not saying not everything, I'm saying the more frivolous stuff. If we could have just come down a little on the paint projects and the
you're saying we got a main?
Oh, you should have just sent it to one resident at the house.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, I see.
No,
Because I even got it to the
Like,
people who were
everybody
there
got,
for
they
their
absolutely got, like, any information on what
I
was
just
in
want to
it.
make sure I'm following.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's have another community forum. We'll do one in October, come back, we'll continue the discussion. I appreciate these discussions. We need to do this as a community. This is good stuff. We'll stay, GMB will stay, Board Traffic will stay, ask more questions. Shannon Cajun, thank you for coming tonight. Make sure we got your email.
Thank you.
Feel lucky.
Good to see you. Seriously, thank you for the questions.
Here, come on over.
I was like, no.